Whoa, making a video. Yeah. Alright, I think I'll put it on YouTube. Anyway, whoever Will Films did a video. The general subject of making videos and what's the point, and well, she didn't really do that. She did on more of the, how to promote this content or get it into some sort of real game. This YouTube small pool thing isn't really going anywhere, puddle thing. I pretty much am just talking to the converted, and that's kind of pointless to an extent. I mean, I think the practice should be over soon, and we should get to the real game. Minor league, major league, however you want to look at it. So anyway, and then I got a response. I'll do a response to Matt, and not a response, but I'll just comment on a video he made. And Snake Plisskenus, who just stepped right in, just walked right into the smacking trap, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I mean, it's just going to be too easy to beat him up. So anyway, maybe it's just a crippled drunk anyway. But anyway, that's a whole other subject. So anyway, I'm just on the subject of this doing stuff. And today I was actually thought about writing a book again, back on that thing. And this, sort of like this is the academic thing you have to do or something. This is some sort of credential. But I was thinking about the whole consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, and addiction. And I kind of like the idea of CRAP as an acronym. Life is crap. And I was just thinking, yeah, that'd make a great book title. Like, Life is Crap. C-R-A, crap would be great. And, have some nice cover art displaying the crap of some kind. But, I mean, just be a good book thing, So, yeah, it's mine. Life is Crap. So no one else write a book called Life is Crap, or I'm going to claim you stole it from me. Bastards. So it would be consumption, reproduction, and we have to change the cannibalism addiction. So it would be consumption, reproduction, addiction, yeah. And now we just need the P, and I'm thinking parasitism. But I mean, that doesn't exactly sing. But that's where I am right now, parasitism. Because that sort of fits. I mean, it's the same as cannibalism in a way, and it just is kind of good. I mean, you can go on for chapters in a book about all the mechanisms in our existence that are so parasitical, the whole way we live and the whole way even the way we attach to things, the way we make friendships with people. We're all, I know I have been guilty of it in my life, and I know I've been the victim of it in my life, where, people have been your friend when you're useful, and when you're not, you're not. I mean, you are as forgettable can be. And the same thing, like I said, we are all sort of just takers in so many ways, and so it really does kind of just fit. And we're lucky if we can get into a symbiotic marriage or relationship where our parasitism doesn't get out of control, and where it's some sort of mutual parasitism. Well, yeah, I mean, think of lots of graphic things about who's eating who and who's, whatever. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, I like that though. Life is crap. Counter arguments and all that kind of stuff. So that's sort of the subject too. Is I have done these Vlogger-Dome videos. The title of Vlogger-Dome and then the subject. And the whole point of doing these, some guy cracked about the monotone voice and the this and the that, and it's like, yeah, that's the whole point. The whole point is to make some kind of stale argument that somebody can't get offended by too much, and to provoke some sort of foundation for an argument. Make a nice brief statement. Here it is, my complaint, so to speak, and then have the counter argument made, and may the game begin. But I haven't been able to begin any game. So anyway, and the next subject, so the toughest one, is this democracy subject. Rewriting the Constitution, making a better social contract, rewriting a better social contract. But there's so much wrong with how we do things, and one of the things we do is just this whole mechanism we have to display and find content on the internet is so broken this whole popularity contest versus a contest that, you know, allows the contenders to, you know, take on Oprah or whoever, and just there's no mechanism. So I was even thinking about that in terms of this media. Like, this whole YouTube thing is so big, and you would just think they could make a TV show out of it. Well, you know, 1 hour show of, you know, today's best of YouTube kind of thing. You're saying, why isn't that on TV? I mean, it seems like, wow, you know, it wouldn't be much to produce. You just have to pay a few people to do the editing, you know, to find the best, glean the best out of the mechanism, out of the slop that is YouTube. Try to put in a few jokes, make it a little entertaining, you know, some good editing, whatever. But I'm just saying, you could, you know, this is a doable show. Why doesn't it exist? Everything's so stale. Everything's just so bad. You know, for a world of so many people, they're supposed to be so creative. There's just not much. And it's like plot flaws. I was thinking about plot flaws in movies. And so many of them are so obvious. And you're just like, man, that is such an obvious plot flaw. Like, you know, it's just such a preposterous plot flaw. And, you know, this movie has a ton of them in it. Blue Lagoon. You know, haircuts, you know, well, whatever. We can go through all the whole. I mean, there's just so many. I mean, the skeleton on the beach that was there for like 15 years and never got washed away. I mean, just silly, stupid shit. Just doesn't make any sense at all. And like, they all have these huge flaws. And I was thinking about that with people's philosophical arguments. They have these gaping, gigantic, monstrous holes in them. And you're just saying, why is that? Why do they keep talking with that huge plot flaw in their philosophy? So that'll get me sort of Matt. I guess I'll go with him, do him first. So Matt was talking, and he's talking about the evolution of the universe and all this other stuff, and you're just like, no, you're way off right there. The universe isn't evolving by this closed mechanism of natural selection. The universe, there is no natural selection selecting on the universe. I mean, it just isn't happening. Hydrogen isn't competing with helium, competing with carbon, and all this kind of stuff. There's no mechanism for remodeling it, or creating any kind of arena of selection. That can only happen when you have replication. You have to have the copying mechanism before you can really have selection. That's just the way it works. Especially when it comes to elements and matter, because that stuff sort of, you know, energy can't be created or destroyed kind of thing. But anyway, but the universe isn't evolving, and even if it was, let's say the universe was evolving, like the big universe, you know, the moons and the solar systems and the galaxies, what would they be evolving into? A trilobite? I mean, some other feeding mechanism, some other parasitical monster to go yum yum chomp chomp Pac-Manning its way through the other matter. I mean, it's just this whole idea of just the huge plot flaw in his philosophy is this lack of acknowledgement for what this mechanism does, what it produces, and it produces need. The plot flaw is just his overt statement, basically, that he's talking psychology, not philosophy. He's in the boat, and he's going to be a tour guide. He's not going to talk about the mechanism, the function, where they're going. He's just going to point to things as they're sightseeing. It's not philosophy, it's psychology. It's how do I get the most out of my existence, kind of. Well, fine, very good, but there's no point in getting the most out of yourself if yourself is a fucking bomb waiting to explode. If yourself is organized by mumbo-jumbo and nonsense, it's going to have you essentially drunk driving through your life. No point in having happy drunk drivers, if you get my drift. So yeah, if you're not, you know, what the human race needs more than anything else in its psychology is some sort of desperate clinging to fail-safe, to caution, to restraint and discipline, not feeling good, feeling comfortable, being, oh, I'm okay with it. I don't care how big a mess I make. I mean, that just isn't going anywhere. There was some bigger point I wanted to make, but that's just he just keeps metaphoring it like, well, he's just flowing with this philosophy thing, and he's got this argument that somehow there isn't any objective reality because everything's moving too fast, or we're moving too fast to be able to see anything. I mean, that's taking it a step further than he said it, but that's basically what he's saying. And it's just not true. There's real hard evidence for a lot of what we know about ourselves and our function. Consumption, reproduction, addiction, and parasitism. So, yeah, somebody come up with a better P, I'd appreciate it. And poo. Yeah, poo isn't good enough. But we do poo, a lot. It's a problem. Anyway, but yeah, there's lots of hard evidence, lots of hard facts, and a lot of people are just trying to always mush that ground. But no, there's a lot of them. A lot of them it's settled law, to use another phrase. A lot of this is settled law. The facts are written, they're done. You're not going to be able to recook them into anything. It is what it is. And you've got to build on that truth. And if you're not building on that truth, you're not doing philosophy, in my opinion. You're just lying. So, fuck that. Alright, Snake Pilskiness. This ought to be easy, just because, he made it's on a short video. I'll leave a link below, I guess. But, he's one of these value relativists or moral relativists. He claims not to be a nihilist, but it sounds like he wants to defend that philosophy sometimes. So anyway, somebody put a simple question to him: how do you justify the rape of a child or some other kind of thing? How is that never a bad thing? And so he built a preposterous thought experiment of, analogy, whatever, metaphor, analogy of, extraterrestrials extort you into it because they're threatening you with more harm, which is just completely breaking the principle. The principle isn't that you can't come up with something worse. You could have just made it easy and say, well, if I don't rape, they'll rape 2 kids. 2 kids get raped if I don't rape the 1 kid. There, I've made rape good. No, you haven't made it good. You've just made it better than something worse. And that is a difference. And the idea was to come up with something of a positive value, some kind of positive value, not taking something out of a worse place and elevating them to some better place, but taking something in a better place and justify giving them extra gravy or extra cupcakes in exchange for the horrid rape event. And it's like he doesn't even understand moral relativists basically aren't even contending that value is relative on a scale like from 0 to 10. No, they're saying that value, the very existence of it, the fact that the raping of the child would be bad is something they have the freedom to be relative on. They can have their own relative opinion about whether or not that's bad or not. So you're not even getting this whole concept of what value relativism means. And the argument would be is that what you have to come up with is some sort of alien that could come up with a rational justification for causing harm or the rape of a child without any compensating benefit, without extracting anybody from some other horror or unpleasantness, just in and of itself, that somehow it wouldn't be a bad thing to do. And no intelligence could do that. That's the contention I'll make to you, is that you can't contrive an intelligent argument. You can't contrive any kind of rational, reasonable explanation for whenever it is okay to harm something, where the harm isn't real. You can't explain it away. You can't explain how an intelligence couldn't understand how it would be a harm. So this is where you just totally failed. And here you are making an argument from exactly the point of view of the people you've been ridiculing. You're saying that their morality based on value is inappropriate, and yet you made an argument based on value. based on your perception that saving the human race or saving billions or millions of people from being horribly tortured was of value. So you did the very thing that we're arguing, is that the value exists, and the only thing that's messy is doing the equation, establishing the E equals mc squared part. The fact that there's a relationship is what we're saying. You're essentially agreeing. You're agreeing that the energy thing exists, and it's just figuring out the relationship, the value of it, relative to another piece of value or another piece of value. But you've conceded the existence of the harm. You even said it in your video. The exact words were relative harm. It all something relative harm. Harm. But you use that word harm. So you can't do that. If you're one of these moral relativists, the whole idea of harm doesn't exist. In an objective sense, they think it's reasonable to say that a 6-year-old getting raped, it is conceivable and possible to make that good in and of itself, without some compensating improvement to some other circumstance. Just that act in and of itself could be good. And that's just nonsense, and you goddamn know it, and I know it, and anybody with a rational brain knows it, anything intelligent knows it, because anything intelligent can recognize that sentient creatures create value by having experiences. That experiences bleed value into the ether. That's what they do. It's the nature of the function. What it does when it's active. It creates an experience, and having personally experienced the experience, I certainly can testify that it's meaningful. It's not irrelevant. It's not meaningless. There's no rational explanation I could come up with to negate its existence, to negate its importance. It just can't be stated without just saying something preposterous like water isn't wet. Every word in our vocabulary that has a value taint to it has a value taint because of the possibility of consciousnesses having a bad experience. So yeah, it's just silly. So anyway, I got really tired just turning the camera on. Yeah, I got a lot of shit to do. I don't know. Hair's a little puffy, but it's coming back. I mean, I got pretty much hair now, so it's a little better. So let's see if it stays the summer this year. Let's see what happens. Where was it? Yeah, just a lot of shit. I'm tired of everything. And tired. It's just I'm tired today. I'm especially tired. So anyway, so much to do. Miles to go before I sleep. Anyway, I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else really important. I don't think there's any other videos here. And yeah. So anyway, so yeah, the next video should be I have to write. It's just so hard to do the instant runoff voting thing, fixing it's just such a hard subject to put into 2 minutes. Without just saying something simplistic that no one pays any attention to. It's irritating because there's so many of these things that are so fixable, but it's just that you have to have a little bit of understanding to understand why it needs to be fixed and why it's so desperately important. It's like the economy. A lot of it's not that complicated, and the fixes aren't that hard to do. It's just getting people to understand that you don't need the rich. They don't do anything, you dumbasses. They really don't. They don't do it. It's the people that work for them that produce all the value. God damn it. It's just so simple. Shit. This is discouraging. It's just not that complicated. So anyway, but yeah, this video was a lot better when I was just going to make it, because I was all like awake, and then I just really